abrogation to us, we could care less. As Muslims, we know that Allah Azza wa Jal reveals rulings and verdicts according to the people's level of thinking, and then He abrogates it subhanahu wa ta'ala, because now they're prepared and they are ready for taking the final command. Also from this hadith, we learn that if one person reports something to us, we have to accept it. We don't need to have 2 or 5 or 10 to report a hadith to us to accept. And this is known in the Mustalah al-Hadith and also in Usul al-Fiqh as Khabarul Wahid, the narration of one. A lot of the schools of thought consider Khabarul Wahid to be not of strength to initiate something or to prohibit something. They say you cannot make a ruling in Islam by one individual, by Khabar al-Wahid. You need a lot of people so that you can add something or say that this is prohibited or this is part of the deen. And this is wrong. Hadith Umar ibn al-Khattab, for example, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. This hadith was only reported by Umar. So it's considered to be Khabar Ahad or Hadith Ahad. Yet it is widely accepted by the Muslims. And likewise, these Muslims who were praying, these companions who were praying in Quba, they accepted the information of one. They did not request a second or a third to confirm. Enough for them to learn, to know that the Prophet was revealed to, that Qibla has changed, and it immediately they done what needed to be doing. Also, we learn from this hadith that if you did not know, if you did not have the knowledge, Allah would not hold you accountable. Where did we learn this? These companions initiated and started their prayer to Jerusalem. And in the middle of the prayer, they were told that the Qibla was changed. They did not start another prayer. They continued the same prayer therein. And that is why, if you have a guest in your house and he started to pray Dhuhr in this direction and your Qibla is in that direction, you simply turn him to the appropriate direction and he doesn't have to make the prayer all over again. Because this is what's his knowledge, and he thought that the direction was in this direction. The following hadith, hadith number 69. Who will read this for us? Yes.
Narrated Anas ibn Sirin rahimahullah, we went to receive Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu when he returned from Sham, and met him at a place called Ain at-Tamr. I saw him offering prayer, riding a donkey with his face to this direction, that is, to the left of the Qibla. I said to him, I have seen you offering the prayer in a direction other than of the Qibla. He replied, if I had not seen Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam doing it, I would not have done it. Bukhari.
This hadith is in compliance with the previous hadith of the Prophet ﷺ traveling and offering voluntary prayer while traveling to the other than the direction of the Qibla. And this is what Anas ibn Malik did, and he reported that the Prophet ﷺ also did this. So we learn that when you're traveling and you are praying voluntary prayers, not mandatory, that you do not have to face the Qibla, and you may compromise when it comes to bowing and also when it comes to prostration, because this is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to give us the permission to do so. Now, if someone is praying in his house, is it a must for him to pray standing up, voluntary prayers, or can he pray sitting down? Yes, microphone.
For him to stand up.
Voluntary prayers.
Yeah, voluntary prayers.
Yes, in voluntary prayers, it's compulsory for him to stand up. This is not correct. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, the prayer of a person sitting down, meaning in voluntary prayers, is half of the prayer of a person standing up. So this means that if I would like tonight to offer 13 rak'ahs sitting down, is this permissible? Completely. It is permissible. But I will get the reward half of those who pray standing up. When it comes to mandatory prayers, the answer would be no. It is a pillar that you pray standing up. Otherwise, your prayer would be rendered as invalid. We move on to a new chapter, and this chapter is regarding the imamah and regarding the straightening up of the rows. Hadith number 70. Yes, brother.
Narrated Anas ibn Malik, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Straighten your rows, as the straightening of rows is essential for the perfection, that is completeness of the salah."
Now the Prophet ﷺ is not talking to the individuals. He is addressing the masses, in the sense that if you're praying on your own, you don't have a row to straighten. But if you're praying with the congregation, you have to show discipline. You have to show unity, and you have to show that you are complying with the Prophet's sunnah by straightening up the row. And if you refuse to do this, then this would affect your prayer negatively. We have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah, we'll be right back.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم.
A light from Allah in the darkness.
له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض. من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه.
A guide from Allah in the confusion.
يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء.
A cure from Allah for every sickness.
وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يئوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم.
The Quran. Join me, Muhammad Timham, as we study the beautiful passages of the Quran and the great lessons that they contain in Lessons from the Quran.
Study about the glorious lessons that connect us to our Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in Lessons from the Quran. Every Thursday at 8 p.m. and repeat telecast at 8:30 a.m. Saudi Arabia on Peace TV.
Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah, and welcome back. Straightening up the rows is essential for our prayers, because the Prophet ﷺ told us that this is what the angels of Allah do. He once came out and he said, why don't you stand in rows like the angels do? So they said, how do the angels stand, O Prophet of Allah? And he said, they complete the first rows and they straighten the rows and narrow the gaps. So this is the way of the angels. And by doing this, by imitating the angels and what they do, we get to follow the sunnah, and at the same time, we get the reward from Allah Azza wa Jal. Hadith number 71. Anyone? Yes, brother.
Narrated an Numan ibn Bashir, the Prophet ﷺ said, straighten your rows or Allah will alter your faces or create dissension amongst you. Bukhari. Muslim's narration, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ used to straighten our rows as if he were straightening arrows until he saw that we had learnt it from him. One day when he came out, stood up for prayer, and was about to say Allahu Akbar, when he saw one man whose chest was bulging out from the row. So he said, Servants of Allah, you must straighten your rows, or Allah will alter, disfigure your faces, or create dissension amongst you. Muslim.
This hadith again speaks about straightening the rows. And the Prophet puts, alayhi salatu wasalam, great emphasis on it. Why? Because it's a sign of unity. You know, a lot of the non-Muslims are astonished. They are shocked. And some of them even may accept Islam when they see the Muslims in their prayer. Once a man was asked, do you think if we have 400,000 people, can we make them stand up in a queue or in a line? How much will it take us? And the man, being a general in the army, said, oh, this is an issue of discipline. Probably would take us like 4 to 5 hours if we're talking about soldiers and etc. And when it was displayed to him, the iqamah in al-haram, people are walking, praying, reading Quran, doing this, going around the Kaaba. In less than 30 seconds, when the iqamah is given and the imam says, istawu, i'tadilu, look at it, what happens? Complete order, everything is in place. And the man was shocked and astonished. This is not human. Yes, it is not human, it's divine, it's from Allah Azza wa Jal. Therefore, we pay a lot of attention and put a great deal of emphasis on straightening the rows and tightening the gaps. As the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, because the punishment is severe. The punishment would be that Allah Azza wa Jal would create dissension among us. And this is obvious in a lot of masjids. A lot of the arrogant people won't like people to come close to them. And you end up in the prayer, straightening up your rows, and you say Allahu Akbar, and you find that the man next to you is going to the right, and the one next to you going to the left. So you spread your legs, and you spread them a little bit more, and they run away. And you're chasing them throughout the prayer, and then you end up stretching like doing karates or taekwondos. What is this? I'm trying to narrow the gaps, and these guys are running away as if I have some illnesses or disease, and they run away from you. And you end up with having so many gaps between the people. Why? What does this result in? In hatred, in dissension. I look down at him and he looks down at me. We never give salam to each other. Why? Because we don't have the love of the brotherhood in our hearts. I wouldn't feel embarrassed or I wouldn't feel annoyed if you stick your shoulder to my shoulder and your foot to my foot. On the contrary, I would feel comfortable. But a lot of the Muslims don't do this. Unfortunately, a lot of the Muslims, even instead of standing normally, they stand like this with their feet. And even if you stand normally, some of them, they have this illness, this disease. With their small toe, they start digging with their nails in your flesh. And you keep a little bit away, and they're still doing this like, I don't know, what are they doing? What are they looking for? And all of this is not part of the sunnah. And after the salah, he shouts at you. Every time I try to get closer to you, you go far away from me. Akhi, you're not getting closer to me, you're injuring me. Look at me, I'm bleeding. And not only that, the soul of the prayer is gone. We're supposed to have khushu'. You're not having khushu'. You're only concentrating on sticking your foot to my foot. Not only that, I've seen people, wallahi, instead of putting the foot like this, they put his foot on my foot. Now, I am irritated. So I take my foot and I put it on his. And we start doing this and the prayer is gone. We're not praying, we're playing. So this kind of attitude has to be changed. Dissension, the Prophet is threatening us, alayhi salatu wasalam. We will not have the love for each other. We will have hatred. We will have this arrogance in us. Straightening the row is extremely important in our religion. Otherwise, Allah Azza wa Jal would cause us to fight among ourselves, as we can see this nowadays. So, do we have any questions related to the topic?
This is more about the traveler who's traveling, and while he's traveling, he enters the masjid where the imam is praying with the jama'ah. So, with regards to shortening the prayer, do the same rule apply, or what are the combinations that can, take
That's a
place?
good question. And Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, was asked a similar question. He was asked, why does a traveler, when praying behind a resident, completes the prayer, and when a resident prays behind traveler, he does not shorten? So what is the determining factor? Ibn Abbas said, this is the sunnah, my brother. So all scholars agree that when a traveler prays behind a residing person, he must complete his prayer, even if he prays only one rak'ah with the imam. For example, Dhuhr prayer, I missed 3 rak'ahs. On the 4th, I joined the imam while traveling. So I finish 1 rak'ah with him. The imam offers salam, I complete 3 rak'ahs. Though I'm traveler, I'm supposed to pray 2 rak'ahs. Scholars say that he has to complete. So this is the sunnah. This is how it was by the Prophet ﷺ, as Ibn Abbas said. Muhammad Aman.
My question is also regarding traveling. As we had discussed in the previous session, that we have to stand for the prayer. Qiyam is a pillar. But we know that when we travel, when we men travel, we can do that. Some of the Muslims, unfortunately, they feel shy about it, praying in front of the masses. But regarding women, is it also for them that they stand in public and they prostrate and they do ruku? Or rather, if there is a corner place for them, they can sit and finish their prayer over there. So what should be done with women?
No, women are like men. They have to pray standing up. There is no exemption in the Quran or in the Sunnah. It's only in our minds. So if they're fully veiled and fully protected, when they pray, there is nothing in them that calls people to look. So they have to pray standing up if they are able to do so.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Where we pray, the hall is straight and the qibla is tilted. So, but most of the people, they join their little finger with the other person's little finger. But however, if we go to follow the correct way, that is joining ankle with ankle, the row, it is tilted. So what should be done in this case?
If you're asking about the tilt found in the masjid, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that this is permissible. In the hadith, مَا بَيْنَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ قِبْلَةً. What's between the east and the west is qibla. South is qibla. So imagine, the Prophet is saying, south is qibla. If you go this far, it's okay, the deviation. But if you're asking about the ankles to the ankles, this is sunnah. If the one next to you, to your right and left, is knowledgeable and knows this sunnah and he's comfortable in doing it, do it. If he's not, stay away from him. But you have to narrow the gaps by at least the shoulders. Some people are irritated with the feet, but the shoulders is the most important thing. Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alhamdulillah.
I usually travel by train in sleeper class, where on my seat I can't stand, and there is no place where I can pray standing. Can you explain how to offer Farz Salah?
The same answer as usual. If you're unable to stop the train and you're not able to pray standing up, pray sitting down. Allah says in the Quran, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Fear Allah to the best of your ability. I can't. No, you have to stand. I can't. You have to stand. Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't tell you to do something you cannot. So pray sitting down, and inshallah Allah will accept this as well. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. I've got 2 questions. One is regarding the women. A woman is in a state of junub, and this is immediately followed by a menstruation cycle. So how does she purify herself?
I'll take only one question. As the brother is asking, if a woman is in the case of sexual impurity and she immediately gets her menses, so is she obliged to perform ghusl? And the answer is yes. She is obliged to perform ghusl because the ghusl is for the janaba, though she is not going to pray, but she's going to recite the Quran, she's going to make dhikr, and she has to be in the state of purity from janaba. But with her menses, she cannot offer prayer or fast, yet she must perform ghusl for that reason. Last question.
When in a plane or a bus, if you are able to stand as well as to face the Qibla, but you are not able to maintain the Qibla, the direction, so is the salah valid?
Yes, it's sufficient in the case of plane or a train that you face the Qibla in the beginning, and then the train falls to other direction or the plane goes to another direction. This does not affect your prayer. Continue your prayer because you started it well and you're standing and you're fulfilling all the conditions, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. This is all the time we have. Until we meet next time, fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.